People are always quoting things. And one of the things that I saw on a page recently was the quote from the Bible that says, pray for them who despitefully use you. Now, I looked up despitefully, and it's not a word. I know what the scripture means, but despitefully isn't a word. Spitefully is. So, what it means is a term from the Bible used to help us know how to deal with bad behavior. Bad behavior from people who hate you, use you for selfish gain, take advantage of your kindness, and persecute you for stuff you aren't guilty of. That's what it means. When somebody hurts you, it's the normal thing to gather mercy and compassion from your heart and look at the person who's calling your names and making fun of you, bad mouthing you, and making trouble for you. And, well, it's not so natural to forgive them on the spot. Now, I've seen people do it. I've done it myself quite a few times because I understood where they were coming from. I understood they were having issues. I understood that they, were just mean or nasty, but it still doesn't give them the right to do what they do. But I understood where they were coming from. The reality of this sort of thing is this: when somebody hurts you, the natural impulse, the natural reaction is to be hurt and angry, to be indignant, especially when they're doing it without due cause. You want to lash out, you want to defend yourself and gain a little self respect and some retribution from the ones who are hurting you. This is the right thing to do. It's the healthy thing to do. In my opinion, it's healthy because many times when people hurt us, we're in shock at first. We don't know what to do. It's like, oh, I can't believe you said that to me. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you called me that. I can't believe you did that. And usually, when we're in shock, we don't know what to say. And we figure we might maybe have deserved the lackluster treatment. And we gather up the shards of our dignity and we usually walk away, run away, or simply limp away, depending on how hard the hurt was. And once we get to thinking about what happened and what the person hurting us did and said, we start thinking of what we should have said and done. And then we find ourselves in what I like to call the festering soup. We start to stew in our bad feelings, and before you know it, if we're boiling over in our festering stew, we start to grumble and rumble with self-loathing. And once again, we start hating ourselves because we were stupid to not stand up for ourselves and tell that person who hurt us exactly how we feel about what they did. And we are angry with ourselves for not doing it in a timely fashion. Because now it's too late. We can't go back and tell them. We don't want to face them. Truth is, you could go back and tell them. You could go back. In many cases, you should go back and tell them. People are mean. They can be cruel. Many people don't have the trouble in pushing their opinions around, and they don't care if they hurt you. They just don't care. Do you think they go home feeling badly about what they said or did to hurt you? I don't think so. Do you think they ever spend a day or a minute in the festering soup that I'm talking about? I don't think so. Because, in a way, even though what they did to you may not have been deemed appropriate or right, They did right by themselves. They spoke honestly and did not hold their feelings or opinions back. So they had no regret. And why should they? If you said something and then to a person and hurt their feelings and they don't say anything back, they don't react, they kind of put their head down and limp away, well, then they look like the guilty one and they look like they can handle the problem that you created for them, and maybe they deserved it, especially if they're walking away looking like the guilty party in a murder mystery. We have got to have enough dignity and respect for ourselves to take a stand for who we are. If we saw someone picking on a friend or a relative or a child, especially a child, one of our children, we would not allow such ill treatment. I know I sure wouldn't. I don't know about you, but if somebody's blasting my kid or somebody I love or consider to be one of my children and saying things and doing something to hurt them, well, then I'm going to rise up like an angry bear and do my best to defend them, which is healthy and normal and the right thing to do in a civil, dignified way. Sometimes I ain't so civil. Sometimes I get real angry and hostile, and maybe I say some things I shouldn't say. But I figure if they're out hurting people and they're out hurting and they can use nasty, then I'll just give some nasty back. And I'm not saying that's right, but I'm just letting you know that's sometimes what I do.
Something went wrong.
Oh,
Try again in a little bit.
Cortana, shut your mouth up. I'm not talking to you. Most people wait and don't say anything until the cork pops out. And then back up, honey, because it'll be like the little boy who held his finger in the hole of the dam to keep it from popping and blowing up and then having to go whoosh everywhere, flooding the whole place with bad feelings and eruptions. So, what's the lesson here? Listen up, and I'll tell you. You have to stop this spiteful using. Now, if you want to continue to be a martyr and allow people to use you and abuse you and put you down all the time because you think it's what God wants for you, then I guess there's nothing I can say or do to convince you otherwise, and you have to keep doing what you're doing because you're a martyr. Because you think that you're going to gain something by being the person that lays on the ground, lets people walk all over you, and you think that you're going to, gain something from being a martyr, being miserable. Sooner or later, you're going to be looking for a reward. And let me tell you something, you ain't going to find it here on planet Earth. Not if you keep letting people walk all over you. As for me, I'm not Mother Teresa. And I sure am not Gandhi. And I've suffered a lot in my life from spiteful users, let me tell you. And I've come to the conclusion that I deserve better. And I don't want to go through the pain anymore that those spiteful users give me. The only person who can prevent people from spitefully using you is you. People come into your life with their hand out saying, "Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me." I've had people recently, somebody, give me, help me, help me, help me, do this, do that, do that. And here I am doing and doing and giving and giving and giving and giving and gimme, gimme, gimme. They get by with a little, so they go for a lot. In other words, if you give them a nickel, they won't stop digging in your purse until they get every one of your dollars. You've got to stand up to the greedies. You've got to let them know that they won't be allowed to use you anymore. They can't use you, they can't abuse you, and they cannot take advantage of you. You will not allow them to spitefully use you. If you have a giving heart, then give, and then give again. But if somebody keeps showing up at your door for more and more, it's time to stop giving out your tuna or your salmon or your lobster, whatever the case may be, and teach the beggar how to catch his own fish. We all need to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to take care of us first and not let others in and rob us of our stuff, our gifts, our talents, our finances. We are given our daily bread. We have our peace. We have our own self respect and our own joy. Don't let nobody have your daily bread, honey, because if you do, you're going to go hungry. Don't let nobody have your peace and your self respect or your joy. You need that to survive. So keep all that for yourself. Learn to tell the difference between somebody in need and somebody in greed. I've met a lot of greedy people. If somebody is out for themselves and to fix them alone at the risk of you and everybody else, they pretty much are greedy. Not a needy. They're needy too, but they're greedy. Eventually, they will become so toxic, they'll affect every relationship they're in. If all they want to do is talk about themselves, cut you off, or cut across you when you start to talk about yourself or talk about something that doesn't concern them or doesn't help them, it isn't related to them, or you're always asking for some, or they are always asking you for help and never giving anything back, asking for things, asking for handouts, asking for freebies, asking you to use your talent and your skill and your resources to help them prosper and to advance, and always telling you how poor they are and how they can't afford this and can't afford that. And in the meantime, you see them buying this, that, and the other thing, and they're not putting anything back into the things that they're asking you to do for them. These are the greedies. These are the people who just want to take advantage. Ask them to follow through on their word. Ask them to take care of the needs for themselves. The greedies need to meet the need of their own selves. They need to put that as their priority. Tell them to follow through on their word and need to do for themselves. If you tell them this, let me tell you something, you're going to run into some problems. Oh, it has been my experience that when you tell these needy greedies to start doing on their own, the people that spitefully use you, they're going to rise up in anger and indignation and resentment, and pretty soon they're going to look for a way to push you under a bus. Then you know that you need to make a decision. And that decision is whether to keep them in your life or to let them go and move on to a safe place. Mm. I have been the victim of spiteful users a whole lot. And I think that it's about time for the givers to start giving to themselves and learning how to recognize the needy and divide them from the greedy and not allow them to spitefully use you anymore.